It's all about the Macro Productions.
What does the goddamn line say, Tony?
Please do not use gendered language.
Then what? I'll be arrested, put in airport jail?
Look, you're going completely sideways, man.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
How dare you?
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
I'm Chris Hansen with Dave on NBC.
Jack Marius Tack-Theratrix.
Hi, I'm Spartacus.
Jackson, Sacramento, he, him.
Steven Seagal.
Sex offender guy.
I'm Keith Morris.
This is Muammar Gaddafi.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Sorting through the lies.
The hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
We cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
And uncovering the centuries-long plan for world domination.
Learning about Cuba, having some food.
Let's talk about Chinese people.
Have you ever been in a Turkish prison? Swangles and Fort Lauderdale.
I have sent 6 of my Libyan missiles to blow up the Sears hardware department.
Nothing could be more fun than jumping off a cliff with 2 German bisexuals.
Oh, you English are so superior, aren't you?
Thank you, comrade.
And now, Macroaggressions.
That's what assholes call it.
With your host,
Buddy, I don't know who you are, but you're about to get chlamydia.
Charlie Robinson.
Hey, Whitey, where's your hat?
You want to drop the blame on Charlie and say it's all Charlie's fault. He was a retard. I get some goddamn diuretic.
Welcome to Macroaggressions. I'm your host, Charlie Robinson. If you're watching us on Rockfin, Rumble, Band.video, Vigilante TV, YouTube, holy moly, we are back on YouTube. I make no representations about how long that will last. Check it out. Or you're listening wherever podcasts are served. Thank you so much for your amazing and continued support. Macroaggressions.io is the website. Activistpost.com is where you go get your news. Have you rated the show yet? I hope you'll take a couple seconds and do that. We found the Achilles heel of these tech people. They want you to rate the shows. Give us 5 stars. Do all that good stuff. Thank you in advance. We appreciate our sponsors. They help to make this show happen. And I'll tell you what, Chemical Free Body has been with me from the very beginning, and they've got products that actually will do what they're supposed to do. They'll save your life like Tim James did. Change his diet, change his life. Man, brought him back from the brink. And I've been taking Green 85 every morning for 5 years. I can speak from experience on this. It actually works. You should probably get some. You should check out the Detox Bundle. It's a 90-day program. It's a hammer, okay? It's easy to do. You're going to see massive results. I've done it twice. I'm not telling you that it's, that it may or may not. Just try it for 90 days and then you message me and you tell me. It'll change your life. Also, the Water Hero. They have a Water Hero system. It's structured water pitchers, kind of like Brita pitchers, things like that. Or you can get a system that installs on your house. The Water Hero system is worth checking out. All of this is available, chemicalfreebody.com/macro. You can check it out there. Just go over and see what Tim James and the crew has in store for you. Also, my friend Christian Yordanov, he's my certified health practitioner. He can get you on the right track if you're struggling with health challenges that you've been unable to resolve, like digestive problems, you have low energy, you can't sleep, you have brain fog, things like that, or your hormonal issues like low sex drive, anxiety, and weight gain. You can go to livelongerformula.com, book a free health assessment with Christian. He's a longevity author. He's a functional health practitioner. He'll get your gut working smoothly, help you detox yourself, boost your testosterone, sleep like a baby. All of this is available to you, but you got to get honest about it. You got to get honest about your situation. Go to livelongerformula.com/macro. And there you can check out his latest masterclass on the 7 deadly health fads that are shortening your life. You just watched that. If you like Christian, if you connect with him, then you can book a free metabolic functions assessment so that he can help you identify the root cause of your health problems. So make sure to mention my name when you're booking your session. You'll get a free gift if you decide to work with Christian. Go to livelongerformula.com/macro and take control of your health right now. This is the reason why we're doing those ads, is because it's appropriate to the topic that we're going to cover today. I wish we didn't have to do this. I wish we weren't talking about the intentional poisoning of society by people who are monsters. And we're going to get into that, a little bit about some of the companies behind it, the ideology behind it, of course. Statistics, I like stats. I can't just rant about this stuff like a lunatic without saying, well, here's some numbers to back it up. I mean, I suppose I could and probably will. But in this particular case, I got a lot of numbers. And so we'll talk about that. I want to talk about the agricultural industry just a little bit. And then I want to wrap up with the new study. Did you see the new study that came out, the vaccine study that Del Bigtree and Dr. Zervos were involved in? You're going to want to hang around for this. It is, to say it's alarming would be an understatement. Alarming, but not surprising, unfortunately. So let's jump into this. When I was a kid, probably you too, I mistakenly assumed that the government was trying to keep poisons out of the food and out of the products and things like that, like the air and the water and your body and all. I made this calculation, and boy, was I an idiot. I mean, I really thought that the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, was set up, it was an agency set up to protect the environment. I mean, stupid me. I bought the sales pitch. What I've come to understand as I got older was that the government is the largest producer of toxic poisons, and they regulate, air quotes, the toxic poisons that they themselves have allowed to take hold here. They oversee companies, industries like the pharmaceutical industry that is loaded with poisons, right? So this idea, or this sort of assumption, I suppose you make, maybe it's more than an assumption. Maybe the government tells you, we're keeping the poisons out of your food. I mean, they say, hey, we got rid of lead-based paint. And you go, well, that is kind of a miracle that they got rid of lead-based paint. So you make this calculation. Well, yeah, they're trying to get, maybe it's a losing battle, right? They're trying desperately to get all of these chemicals out of your food and out of your air and out of your water, but those big bad companies are putting them in just as fast as the loving government can take them out. What I've come to understand is that those two factions, the big business and government, are in cahoots with one another. There's no regulation going on, not in a real way. I mean, sure, our rivers don't look like, Bombay. They don't look like the rivers of Calcutta, right? They're not filled with trash. Not yet, at least. I mean, we're working on it. You guys in Canada are well on your way. It seems you've imported the trash producers into your country to let them pollute your rivers. It's only a matter of time before it happens here in the U.S. as well, I suppose. But the idea that, that the government is going to be involved in cleaning out the pollutants and toxins is much like the CIA being involved in the drug business. You go, oh my God, you get older and you realize, wait, I thought they were supposed to prevent, they were preventing the DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency. You go, the DEA is preventing the drugs from getting in this country, right? And then there's a big expose, and then you find out the DEA is involved in the importation of the drugs. And you go, everything's upside down and backwards, isn't it? Yeah. And so the eugenicists have found a way to monetize their hobby of killing the population of Earth. They've found a way to monetize it, make some money off this. Let's just do it with poisons, and we'll sell them the poisons that they will ingest to kill themselves. It'll be a win-win. We'll make money. They'll depopulate themselves. Everybody's happy, right? Well, our food is poisonous. The air is toxic. Everyone's getting sick. But the solution, vaccines, are actually creating a silent genocide. We've got 19 million COVID vaccine dead worldwide so far, and counting. Now, these numbers are going to be very hard to measure because so much of what, you would classify as a COVID vaccine death is going to be a bit muddled as you move further away from the injection point, the period in time in which you injected it. It's one thing if you take the vaccines and then 24 hours later you fall over dead. It's pretty easy to tie that back. It's quite another thing if you've taken 2 COVID shots and 2 boosters, and then 5 years from now you develop soft tissue cancer and drop dead from it. Everybody throws their hands up and goes, bad luck. Well, was it bad luck? Or was it a time bomb that was set on your immune system that just took years to develop? And see, if that's the case, which, and I believe that it is the case, not to say that people don't randomly just die from things, of course they do. But if you've got a product that doesn't kill you right away, it's like lighting a fuse that takes 5 years to go off. Well, when it goes off, you're in the clear. Nobody can tie it back to you, even if they could scientifically prove vaccines were the reason for you dying, then you've got 5 different vaccine manufacturers pointing the other direction, doing the Spider-Man thing. Saying, well, how do you know it was my shot that killed the guy? It could have been his. He took 17 shots in the last 10 years. You can't be certain that it's mine. It could be one of those 16 other ones, right? And so we're playing this game where everything's poisoned and everybody's sick, and then the solution that people are offering is more poison in the form of vaccines. And if you say that these shots are filled with poison, they delete you off of social media. I mentioned that you can catch this show on YouTube now. You couldn't for the last 4 years. Do you know why you couldn't do that? Because I was talking about how dangerous vaccines were back in 2021, back in 2020 even. Hell, I wrote a book about it in 2017. It's in there. COVID didn't wake me up to the dangers of vaccines. I've known about this for a long time. So, but now I think it's becoming undeniable that we have a problem. Where there is deniability is who is responsible for the problem. Let's talk a little bit about Monsanto. Now, they're not in the vaccine manufacturing industry. We'll keep them out of this. It's not yet, at least, Maybe they're like, we've done a great job with all this killing. What other industries could we get into? Monsanto is the devil, of course. They have been rated the worst company in the world, I think. They had a pretty good streak going there. And now you don't hear a ton about them. And I think for the average person out there, they're like, oh, Monsanto must not be a problem, right? Well, no, it is a problem. It's just that you are looking for a different name now because they were bought by Bayer. And most people just assume that they're out of business. But Bayer is just as hated in Europe as Monsanto is in the United States. It's just they are the Monsanto of Europe. And you know them for Bayer aspirin. You go, oh, they make aspirin. How bad could they be, right? Well, let's talk a little bit about how bad Monsanto can be, because when you unleash them and are given a basically like blanket immunity by the government, they get very diabolical. Are you familiar with Operation Ranch Hand? Have you ever heard of that? Well, it happened from 1962 to 1971 in Vietnam. And what this was the spraying of Agent Orange. So your uncle who came back with all fucked up in the head, he was probably exposed to Agent Orange. It's a neurotoxin. It's a defoliant. They sprayed it on. Okay, you have to understand the mentality of the American government. Now, this was in production before the Vietnam War started. I mean, it wasn't that Vietnam necessarily was the light bulb moment for them to realize that if you need to realize that a jungle canopy provides excellent hiding cover for the enemy, right? Everybody that's flown in a plane over a jungle understands that, or a forest. So where the American mentality went with, what if we could make all the leaves on those trees fall off? Then we could see the people down there that we're trying to bomb. they go, well, all right, can we get a chemical that we can spray on these trees to make them lose their leaves immediately? And the answer is, well, yeah, we can make a poison. And then what we'll do is we'll just spray it and we'll just, then they'll fall off. You go, well, won't that poison everything that it touches? Oh, yeah, and it'll kill everything too. Oh, good, great. So what are we doing? We're going to do this today, tomorrow, or next Thursday. And that's how the American government thinks. So what did they do? They sprayed 4.5 million acres with Agent Orange. They sprayed it at 50 times the normal concentration just to make sure, There were 4.8 million Vietnamese exposed. Now, these numbers, 4.5 million acres and 4.8 million Vietnamese exposed, are numbers that were reported by the American government. So I would go ahead and multiply those by 2, if I was being fair, because they're going to be unfair in their reporting. They're going to minimize their response. The 400,000 people dead from Agent Orange spray, deformities, multi-generational birth defects, handicapped kids, all because of Monsanto. Because this violates the Geneva Convention. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. We do whatever we want. We, not me. The American Empire does whatever it wants. They fitted C-123s. I've never heard of a C-123 before, but with spray tanks that would hold 1,000 gallons of Agent Orange, and they would fly 3, 4, 5 aircraft wing to wing and spray large chunks of the forest. And this would just go on and on and on and on and on. 20% of the jungles of South Vietnam totally destroyed by Agent Orange. 50% of the mangroves. What a stain on humanity we are. What a fucking stain we are. God. Monsanto and their partners Dow made Agent Orange. They made Agent Purple. They made Agent Pink. These are all precursors to glyphosate, which you will know is Roundup. So they took the science behind Agent Orange and then they put it in a little bottle and called it glyphosate. And then you can go to Home Depot and get it called Roundup. And then you can spray it on your weeds in your yard. So you won't have weeds anymore, but you will have multi-generational birth defects. So that's fine. That's a good trade-off. Don't worry about that. There's nothing you can do about it anyway, right? Oh, the things that we prioritize at the expense of others. It is so frustrating to live in this world and watch this. There are products that are banned worldwide and yet available in America. So if I didn't know any better, I'd think they might be trying to kill us with these products. Boy, that'd just make me a conspiracy theorist for thinking that. Banned worldwide, but not in the USA. Artificial food dyes, farmed salmon, brominated vegetable oil, olestra. I mean, there's a long list of items that you just can't get in the rest of the world. Because they're poisons that will kill you. But in America, they go, fine, whatever, who cares? What difference? We're going to get these people one way or another. We're either going to kill them with the vaccines or we're going to kill them with farmed salmon, but we're going to get them one way. They're not going to escape us, right? And then all of this feeds into the food system. You just know it does. It has to. You have to understand the cycle of rain and water and evaporation and the way storms and how wind moves things from one place to the other. I mean, we've seen the lawsuits of that the GMO, we're going to get to GMO, but the GMO crops that are planted in GMO fields and then due to wind, birds eating fruit, depositing seeds in other fields, the GMO crops don't tend to stay in the GMO fields. They oftentimes wind up miles away in other fields, and next thing you know, they're growing GMO. randomly growing GMO tomatoes someplace or whatever it is, right? Wheat, you name it, whatever the GMO version of it is, just magically starts growing in other people's farms. And then the lawyers show up and sue the farm for having the audacity to allow nature to spread these things far and wide. And so then the farm that is by no fault of their own accidentally growing these GMO crops that they didn't want to grow in the first place, but are by nature magically growing, due to the processes of wind and seed disposition, are now growing in your field, and then you get sued by Monsanto and you'll lose. That's the crazy part of it. I mean, it's all crazy, but and so if that's not enough, you've got some psychotic chemical company that's running around suing everybody. You maybe appeal to the government to come help out, right? Hey, give me this is crazy. These people are suing me. I didn't have anything to do with this. I don't want their crops growing here either. In fact, I should sue them. They should have to come pull the crops out of my fucking farm, and not the other way around here. But what does the United States government do? They instead start buying people's silence. And how do they buy your silence with stuff like that? Subsidies. Subsidies will shut you up pretty quick. And it's not just a few. So it's not just a little bit of money. Since 1995, 30 years, the past 30 years, the amount of corn subsidies alone in the United States that have been given from the government. By the way, this is not a democracy that we live in. Okay? I don't know what it is, but the government is not supposed to subsidize American farmers with money to help them grow crops. If they can't make money with their crops the way it's set up, then they go out of business. Now, of course, the way it's set up is so fucking rigged and crazy that you almost have to have subsidies because the whole marketplace isn't a fair or level playing field. But the corn subsidies in the U.S. in the last 30 years total $116 billion. We have a corn problem in this country. Not that there's not enough corn. Have you driven through the Midwest? I've made that drive. I've made the drive where you go 9 hours straight and see nothing but cornfields and maybe a Buc-ee's. I've done that. You just go, there's corn everywhere. How is anybody starving? Problem is it's low quality corn. It's GMO corn. It's being grown because the farmers are being subsidized to grow it. It's not just corn. Soybeans, since 1995, $48 billion. Wheat, $45 billion. And when the government subsidizes you to grow these products, you know what you're growing? You're growing GMO wheat, GMO soybeans, and GMO corn. That's what you're doing. Let's talk about this Roundup this glyphosate. It's patented in the early 70s with an expiration in 2000. So the patent on glyphosate expired about 25 years ago, which means that any company can pick it up and make generic versions of it now. Damages the livers and the kidneys, even in small doses, and it destroys the nutrition of the soil. Very convenient. We have shitty soil here in the U.S. Part of the reason why, of course, this will never get talked about in the nightly news, part of the reason why Ukraine was such an appealing location is they have amazing soil. The United States has destroyed its soil through, I don't know, all of the pesticides, all the chemicals, poison the water. We're using seeds that are Terminator seeds. Everything about it is unsustainable and crazy, which is why we're doing it, of course. So there's Roundup, which is glyphosate, right? You spray this, it's a weed killer. It kills a lot of things. But what Monsanto did is they made glyphosate that you spray on the weeds so that your crops are protected and don't get overrun with weeds. But they made their GMO seeds, they call them Roundup Ready. Roundup Ready GMO seeds. So you have to pair the genetically modified fake seeds, pair those with the glyphosate Roundup, because you've got seeds that are, quote, Roundup Ready, which means they're going to go. You don't get one without the other, is my point. If you're going to use GMO seeds, you're going to spray Roundup all over it. So the seeds, in and of themselves, the GMO seeds, not good. really bad for you frankenfood. Then you take that and douse them with something that causes liver and kidney damage and is sprayed on literally everything. So you wind up with a massive problem. You wind up with a serious health problem that we have. Look how sick everybody is in the US. It's a variety of reasons. To be fair, you can't just say it's all Roundup or it's all GMO corn. But it's a contributing factor. How much of the blame it's going to get, I don't know. If we had a pie chart, I don't know how much of a slice I would assign GMO foods and Roundup and things like that. But it would be a sizable amount. It's a huge, it is a reason why everybody is fat and sick and stupid. The EPA knew glyphosate was carcinogenic since early 1980s. Okay, this is again why please, daddy government, save me. This is the same daddy government that knew that glyphosate was poisonous and approved it anyway. They're not coming to save you. They hate your guts and want you dead. Don't you understand that? Because if you do understand that, and when you do understand that, everything makes way more sense. Why would they be poisoning the food? Because they hate you. Why would they be poisoning the water? Because they want you dead. Oh, well, okay, well, at least now I know why they're doing it. I don't agree with why they're doing it, and I think they're devious fuckers for doing it, but at least I understand. So I can get out of the way. I mean, at least I could if I try to. So they knew it was carcinogenic since the early 1980s. They put a Class C designation on it, which means suggestive evidence of carcinogenic potential. Okay. But later, in 1991, somebody went in and downgraded it to a Class E, which stinks of Rumsfeld as far as I'm concerned. I bet you probably find old Donnie's fingerprints on this one. Because he did that with when they were trying to get the sugars passed to go in your Diet Coke and all of that, and you're like, oh well, this aspartame stuff is poison. It's rat poisoning. It's killing people. It's giving all these monkeys tumors that they give it to, and they banned it, and they wouldn't pass it on 4 different occasions. And in fact, the final time that the second to final time that they brought aspartame up, the judge told the guys, if you try to do this again, I'm going to put you guys all in jail for fraud. And then they had Rumsfeld get involved, and then months later, magically, aspartame is approved as a sweetener, and then it goes into Diet Cokes and everything like that, and then it gives people brain cancer. That's how it works. So once you understand that the Environmental Protection Agency, the Food and Drug Administration, all these, you go, oh, they keep all the poisons out of our food. No, they don't. They make sure that it's in your food. And as soon as somebody finds that it's in the food and they want to remove it, then there's a big song and dance about how they can't do that. I mean, you saw what happened with RFK Jr. He was just trying to remove a couple colors. People freaked out. The left went apoplectic. You're not going to take my red dye number 18 from my Skittles? Well, I reserve the right to kill myself. Oh, go for it. That's fine. Roundup, the product, Roundup, does about $12 billion in sales yearly worldwide. So it's not going away. It didn't just magically disappear. You didn't hear stories about how glyphosate is dangerous and then they pulled it off the market. They didn't pull it off the market. You can go to Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever and buy yourself Roundup right now. And you can read the back of it. It's poison. Okay. The reason why it kills all those weeds is because it's poisonous too. Let's talk about the big agra. So there are a couple players in this industry: BASF, Syngenta, Dow AgroSciences, DuPont, and then Bayer Monsanto. And it used to be Bayer and Monsanto, and they were split up, and then it was like the big 6. Well, now it's kind of the big 5. They're consolidated. The verticals here, when you talk about big agra, it would be seed producers, chemical fertilizers, biotech, and retailers. Okay, so you can get into any of those segments there within that vertical, and most of these companies are in all of them. It's one day seed producer, Monsanto. Are you a seed producer? Yeah. But do you do chemical fertilizer too? Yeah. Do you do biotech? Yeah. And are you available retail? Oh yeah. Yeah, we do $12 billion of retail sales for Roundup. Of course, we're available retail. So what you see is that these companies tend to dominate the entire. That's why they're big agro. That's why there's 5 of them now. It's because they go all the way down into that vertical and capture the entire market from start to finish. And so it's very tough to pull them out by the roots when they've done that. And what happens is that when you've got so few players, it centralizes all of the control into the hands of just a couple. And that is a real problem, because 80% of the major crops inside the United States are handled by 4 companies. Okay. First company, Louis Dreyfus. Yes, that one. The Big Salad herself, her family is involved in one of the major players in big agro. Louis Dreyfus, Cargill, Bunge, and Archer Daniel Midland. You might have heard of ADM. They are Archer Daniel Midland. Well, first of all, they're the creator of high fructose corn syrup. So if you want to look for where to blame at least part of the weight problem of the American consumer, you could look at Archer Daniels Midland and their creation of high fructose corn syrup, which is diabolical in what it does to the body. It is liquid corn sugar. It is bad for you. It's made with genetically modified corn. It is like drinking, and it's in everything. It's in everything. It's in a bunch of food that you wouldn't think it was in. It's in a bunch of food that isn't necessarily sweet, and then you look and it's in there, and it's got different names, and it's been a real subversive chemical agent for America. And again, I blame these companies and I blame the government for allowing this to happen, but I'm not absolving the consumer from their responsibility too. I mean, this is a two-way street here. And yes, these companies make poisons, and yes, the government allows them to market them to adults and children. And it's horrible and it shouldn't happen. Of course, all of that is true. But what is also true is that you, as a consumer, have a responsibility in this too. You don't get to just throw your hands up and go, oh, I was misled. Yeah, we're all misled about just about everything. It's your job to figure it out. And if it's something innocuous, fine. But this is your health we're talking about. This is the food that goes into your body. This is the fuel that you run on. You have to make sure that it isn't compromised. We're all going to get poisoned in some way, shape, or form. It's impossible to avoid it, of course. But we've got to be diligent. We have to take matters into our own hands. You have to know how to read the labels. We had Alexandra on here a couple weeks ago. We were talking about just the labels and moving not just from the labels of the vaccines, but moving to the labels inside your grocery store. You have to understand. It's a different language. And justtheinserts.com, go over there, find their information on how to read packaging. We need that. And if you don't know how to read it, print up the list and take it with you so that when you're in the grocery store, you can cross-check it. I mean, it is your duty and obligation to do that for yourself, for your kids, for your family. If you know that the food is poisoned, you're already way ahead of most people. You'd think it wouldn't be much of a secret, but apparently there's a lot of people that do not understand that their food is poisoned. If you've come to this realization and you know that you know that there's a problem and you have the desire to read the labels, you're going to be so much better off than everybody else. So, it's ultra processed food is a thing and it is killing us. And I'm starting to see articles. Boy, I tell you, I hope it's written by AI, but I'm starting to see these articles that are like, well, actually ultra processed food it's not that bad. And here's 10 reasons why. And you read it and you go, no, this is propaganda. This is nonsense. This is the stuff you need to have your eyes open for. Because if you're not paying attention, they'll just slide it on through. And of course, so many restaurants now source their food from the same places, the same massive, Cisco Foods and things like that. So it's like, oh, well, I'm not eating that GMO stuff because I look at the cans and it's not in there. Well, maybe the restaurant that you're going to eat dinner, they're getting it from a large food processing wholesaler, and they're all buying GMO stuff too. Right. And so maybe it's not, maybe you're not reading the labels of what's going on in the kitchen in the restaurant that you're eating at. Of course you're not. It's impossible to do that. So again, you can't make yourself feel bad that you didn't catch every single arrow that's coming your way, right? You just have to be aware that it's out there, move out of the way as best as you can. But I think it's something to understand that GMO food, have you ever seen the like trail cam videos? They'll put like a real and all organic ear of corn. They'll put that out there, and they'll put a GMO ear of corn next to one another and a camera set up there at night. They'll watch all the little animals come up and, nibble on the corn and everything. They'll all avoid the GMO corn. It's crazy. They know it. They can sense it or smell the poison in it. We can't. So you're going to need to be as selective as your average tree squirrel when it comes to sifting through the corn that you're putting in your body, because an entire generation of genes and DNA have been totally destroyed because of you need some C60 power for that, get your DNA damage back on, back in alignment. Did I mention this? Here's like maybe a side pivot here just for a second, but since I brought up DNA damage, I have to point this out, because so much of this stuff is like, you throw your hands up and go, it's unfixable. How do I fix it? I wouldn't even know. If someone said your DNA is all screwed up, you have to fix your DNA. I go, how do I do that? Right. Well, I must tell you, I accidentally found out about this. I knew that my C60 power, shopc60.com, promo code macro, I knew that my C60 did something because I read the studies that the company had. I read some other studies. I've gone out to lunch with Ken the scientist multiple times, been to Mexico with him multiple times. He's a friend. He talks to me about it all the time. I trust him and I believe him. And when he says it works, I believe that it's working. However, every now and then you want to, the ability to quantify something like that is pretty cool. And I did my metabolic functions assessment test with Christian Yordanev when I turned, I did my organic acid test when I turned 50, and I did my metabolic functions assessment earlier this year. And when Christian and I went through the results of that, and this is food related too, so this is why it is relevant. So we went through the results of it on his podcast and we recorded it. We got to this part and it gives you like a 13-page, really detailed breakdown of where you are, your body is on all these different levels. We got to a section called DNA damage. And he said, he goes, I want to talk to you about this, because he said, this is, you got a really weird score on this one. And take a look at it. It's a line chart, right? So it's like on one side, it's like red, yellow. It's like red on one side, yellow in the middle, and green on the other side. So if it's in the red, obviously you're in a bad spot. And where that little dot is, if you want it in the green, my dot was so far in the green that it was outside of the range. It was so far left, it had gone off of the green. It was showing, my DNA damage was so low that it wasn't showing a score. And he was like, he goes, this is a weird one. I go, it's probably the C60 I'm taking. And he goes, oh my God, that's what it is. And I was like, well, he goes, I was thinking I was going to send a message to the lab and ask, he said, I've done this before. Like if somebody scores really low on something, like there's one thing is either too low or too high. It's very unusual. Was there an issue with the machine? He goes, I was just about to send a message to the lab asking if there was something wrong with the machine when it tested I said, no, it's the C60 I take. So there are solutions, to this. I mean, that was one that I really wasn't expecting. So, but ultra processed foods are destroying your body, and you've got, so again, like, what is DNA damage? I don't know, but I don't want it. Your DNA damage looks good. Good. Let's keep it that way. What does that mean? I don't know, but let's keep it that way. Or if your DNA damage is off the charts, bring it down. Apparently it's fixable. So buy the most powerful antioxidant known to man. I probably should, I feel like I should insert the disclaimer. These claims have not been on, FDA didn't approve, blah, 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 all that stuff. The thing. But But there's poisons out there that are in aspartame, prime example. Aspartame is rat poisoning, right? Until Rumsfeld gets a hold of it, and then it's in your Diet Coke. So do not make the assumption that the government is here to save you or that they're putting up firewalls to protect your health. No, quite the opposite. Sick people are easier to control. So they prefer you to be sick. They're, of course, not going to eat the GMO food or take the vaccines or eat the bugs or any of that. You will be doing that, and then you'll get sick because of it, and then they'll sell you the cure, which isn't actually the cure. So, it's just, there's the reality of the situation is that there's poisons for sale everywhere. And we have fluoride, a neurotoxin that is in the toothpaste of every kid in America, in the developed world. Even though Derek Broze spent 2 weeks in San Francisco there for the fluoride trials. Fluoride trials came out. You know what the verdict was? This shit is poison. Yeah, it's a neurotoxin. It's listed as a neurotoxin. There is never any debate about whether or not it was a neurotoxin. That's what it is. The only debate is, why are you putting it in the toothpaste? The answer, of course, is because of Edward Bernays, the godfather of propaganda. Well, the godfather of public relations, which is a rebranding of the term propaganda. And what he did was he convinced, we've gone over this before, aluminum, the manufacturing of aluminum, the byproduct of sodium fluoride, and they took that fluoride that was piling up in their backyard going, well, we got all this fluoride here, what are we going to do? We have to pay all this money to get rid of it. And he created the ad campaign and pitched it to the Dental Association that fluoride actually was good for teeth, and they went from calling it a neurotoxin to adding it to the groundwater. And that was, of course, after Operation Paperclip, when the German scientists, the Nazi scientists, came back and said, you have not added the fluoride to the water yet? And everyone's like, well, why the fuck would we do that? And they're like, oh, it makes everybody more docile and controllable. And then what do you know? Fluoride's added to the water after that. So, and in the San Francisco study, it showed that on average, kids lose 5 IQ points because of that. Now, you've been out into the wild, right? Are we operating in a world of surplus IQ points? Because it doesn't seem like it to me. My assumption is that you want to hang on to all the points that you got, right? Most of us aren't in a position to be giving away 5 IQ points for really anything, especially not for, better teeth, so to speak. Let's move on. I mentioned that I would talk about the vaccine study. And, there's 2 of them that came out. And this is going to be alarming, not surprising, of course, because we know what we're working with here, and we understand that these are poisons, that there's no scientific basis in which vaccines have cured anything. The idea of vaccines curing polio is combination myth, scientific fraud, and coincidence all at the same time. That was the spraying of DDT and a substance similar to DDT for years before that, and the phasing out of DDT at the same time when the so-called polio vaccine was being released, and that the vaccine fixed, saved, cured polio, whatever word you want to insert there. Polio wasn't a thing. Polio is caused by exposure to poisons like DDT. And so the reason why the polio vaccine, quote, cured polio wasn't because it did anything. It's because they banned DDT. And so DDT went away, and therefore the poison that caused polio, the so-called polio, the paralysis of polio, the lower half paralysis went away. And you can dig into the science of how that works. You can go watch a really brilliant presentation or just explanation by Dave Cullum about DDT. I watched him talking about it just a couple days ago. In fact, he's a chemistry professor at Princeton, and among other things. So there's a long track record of vaccines being sold as a cure-all for ailments. They are not. They are designed to set off a neutron bomb on your immune system and destroy it so that you are perpetually a victim and customer of the pharmaceutical industry for a long, long time. All vaccines are poisonous snake oil. All of them. Okay. So, let's see. Let's talk about this. There's Dr. Paul Thomas, and now he was licensed in Oregon. His license was suspended after publishing this study, of course, because we can't have him talking about things that actually matter. So, what was the vaccine study he did? Well, he took a look at 3,324 children, and what he found was that the vaccinated kids were all sicker than the unvaccinated kids. Okay. We know this because we've heard about these sorts of things being done for years and years. The problem is that the general public this is the first time they're hearing this. It's been suppressed for so long, they don't know where to look. They're not reading the same things we're reading. They're not looking for, they don't even know to look for it. And in fact, if they were to ever hear about it, all they hear is vaccines are safe and effective and they're the greatest scientific breakthrough in the history of mankind. It's the exact opposite on every count. But what he found, what Dr. Paul Thomas out of Oregon found, was this, and it is alarming, and it is something that we need to be aware of. And by the way, if you are a parent who has a child and you've done the entire vaccine schedule with them and they have any of these issues, this might ring a bell in your head to go, oh shit, this is vaccine related, possibly vaccine related. We'll leave it at that, right? I just thought it was random luck or genetics or, where we live or whatever. Turns out there's a lot more going on, and the kids are sick, and the illnesses that they are sick with are pretty alarming. So I'm going to start at the top here. Just fever, just a normal fever, 9.1 times higher in vaccinated kids. Hay fever, 6.9 times higher. Anemia, 5.5 times higher. Asthma, 5.2 times higher. Everyone, all those kids out there who have asthma, ask if they're vaccinated. Gastroenteritis, 4.6 times higher. Eczema, 4.5 times higher. The flaky skin that you have, your eczema that you have on your skin, your intuition says, or your logical brain says, oh, treat the surface, right? Treat it on your skin. Fact of the matter is you probably have to treat it in your gut. And the reason why you have the issue in the first place is from the vaccines. Let's see. Sinusitis, 4.3 times higher to have that if you're vaccinated. Behavioral issues, 4.1 times higher. Ear pain, 3.4 times higher in the vaccinated. Weight and eating disorders, 2.5 times higher in the vaccinated. Hives, 2.1 times. Breathing issues, 2.9 times. And here is the kicker. In the unvaccinated group of children, mind you, they studied a total of 3,324 vaccinated and unvaccinated kids. In the unvaccinated group, there were 0 kids with ADHD. Not a single one. Don't you find that interesting? So this was like the appetizer for the real study that came out. And the real study that came out was between Del Bigtree and vaccine supporter Dr. Marcus Zervos. Okay. And they agreed to run a study on vaccine safety, and both of them agreed to publish the results regardless of the basis of the outcome. Okay, now they made this agreement in 2016, and this ran from 2016 to 2020. And the results came in shortly afterward, after the conclusion of the test, which was, sort of interesting timing that it's coming right when COVID was kicking off, but this was when they had done the test, and it was going to be, in fact, the discovery of what they found would have been extremely important from a timing standpoint if it had been released. But you see, Dr. Zervos, the vaccine pusher, he did what most pro-vaccine people did. When it came right down to the final end, he lied. He didn't publish them. He refused to publish them, the results. You know, he said they promised they would publish the results regardless of the outcome. And then he didn't do it. He refused to publish it. So Del Bigtree rigged up a hidden camera, and he secretly recorded himself talking to Dr. Zervos to get him to explain why he wouldn't release this. And you know what he said? He said that his career would be over if he published it. Very interesting, huh? His career would be over if he published it. Maybe even his life. Though he didn't say that. But we know plenty of doctors who've gone out for a walk and then wound up shooting themselves twice in the back of the head, you know. But, you know, he probably couldn't wrap his head around the fact that of the 2,000 unvaccinated kids in the study, he wasn't the only one that found out that none of them had ADHD. Right. The other, Dr. Paul Thomas, who ran his study, found that none of the kids had ADHD. Right. Well, in the Del Bigtree, Dr. Marcus Zervos study, they found that none of the unvaccinated kids had ADHD or diabetes or behavioral problems or learning disabilities or intellectual disabilities or tics or other psychological disorders. The only ones who had any of those were vaccinated. So it's not just the ADHD that magically disappears when you don't inject your kids with poisons, but also diabetes, behavioral problems, learning disabilities, intellectual disabilities, tics, and other psychological disorders. This isn't Mother Nature punishing you after spinning the wheel of luck and deciding that your kid is going to have autism because that's the way God's plan is. The kids are sick because of the vaccines. They're being injected with poison. It's hard to know where to start with the results of this test, but we'll start at I'm going to start at the beginning and say that in the aftermath of this test, what was determined was that taking the vaccines gave the children 2.3 higher mortality. I'll put it in a different way. You are 2.3 times more likely to die from taking the vaccines than if you didn't take the vaccines. So ask yourself the question. Vaccines are there to make you healthy, to improve your health, to prevent you from getting diseases so that you can live a long life. If that is the case, then why are you 2.3 times more likely to die after taking vaccines? That doesn't seem to me to prevent illness and death. That seems to, accelerate it almost by 2.3 times. So you can have your feelings about vaccines all you want. Here are the facts. Are you ready for the facts? They're awful. Okay? Besides being more than twice as likely to die after getting the vaccines, this is what else they discovered. The children who took the vaccines are 3 times more likely to experience developmental delays. Not 3% more likely, 300%. 3 times more likely. 2.9 times more motor disabilities. What do you see with autistic? What do you see with slow development. Developmental delays. We saw that during COVID. Those were forced developmental delays with masking. 5.5 times higher risk for neurodevelopmental disorders. 5.5 times. You're a mother, you're pregnant, you're reading all these books, you're trying to do whatever you can to make sure your child remains as perfect as possible. You know it's a tough uphill battle, but you're going to read everything that you can read, and you're going to do all that, and you're going to make sure that you follow the rules and do it all. This is one of these instances where following the rules will get you sick, might even kill your kid. You have to disobey. You have to disobey authority on this. You have to get better information. The pharmaceutical industry are all convicted felons. Every one of the companies that manufactures vaccines in the United States have all been convicted of felonies, including rigging their data, lying about it, bribing people, outright fraud, criminality, illegal conduct. They have collectively paid individually the largest fine in the history of planet Earth for their products. Collectively as a criminal cartel, nobody has paid more money to settle fraud, criminal complaints, and outright crimes than the pharmaceutical industry. You have to know this going into it. You have to. You think the drug cartels are operating in South America? The drug cartels are operating in Baltimore. It's Johns Hopkins Medical University. Okay? It's groups like that. It's the pharmaceutical industry. 4.5 times more speech disorders for the vaccinated. 6 times higher risk for autoimmune disorders. Now, what are autoimmune disorders? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because in this study, it encompasses 80 different diseases. 80 different diseases get smashed down into one section called autoimmune disorders. Within that, if you take vaccines, you are 6 times more likely to have autoimmune disorders, which equals 80 other things. Why? Why would you do it? Are you bad at statistical analysis? Here's the numbers. Use your eyeballs. Go out and look at all the sick, all the vaccinated people. Go out and ask all the people who have taken 2 COVID shots and 2 boosters how many times they got COVID. Ask them how many, not did you get COVID? How many times did you get COVID? The answer is like 3, 4, 5, 2. I don't know. It's not 0. It's never 0. The unvaccinated aren't dying. What do you make of that? Oh, it must just be random luck. After I've gone through all these, there's nothing random about this. It's intentional poisoning. 3 times higher risk for atopic diseases. That's eczema. 6 times higher risk for ear infections. Did you have a kid who is fully vaccinated and they got ear infections when they were a kid? Do you know why they got ear infections all the time? Because the vaccines. Do you know what SIDS is? Sudden Infant Death Syndrome? Do you know what they told mothers, grieving mothers? They said your baby turned on its side and died that way. No, that's not what happened. 82% of the babies who died had a wellness visit with their pediatrician in the hours before the death. SIDS is vaccine death. That's what it is. That's why they never found a fucking cure for it. They looked everywhere, high and low, couldn't find out what was doing it. It's the vaccines, dummy. That's what's doing it. Here are the stats. Not like they didn't exist before, but here they are. 4.26 times more likely to have asthma. So what did the guy say? What did the doctor say? The doctor who didn't want to publish the reports? Well, they finally made him, issue a statement on this. This was the findings, and I quote, "In contrast to our expectations, we found that exposure to vaccination was independently associated with an overall 2.5-fold increase in the likelihood of developing a chronic health condition when compared to children unexposed to vaccination." 2.5-fold increase in the likelihood of developing a chronic health condition, as opposed to those who are unvaccinated. Why are you injecting your kids with poison? Why are you doing it? Because your doctor told you to? Your doctor knows fuck all about vaccines. I'll take the parent of a vaccine-damaged kid over a pediatrician on vaccine knowledge any day of the week and twice on Sunday. They don't know about this. They are paid not to know about this. They're incentivized not to know. Their entire business model depends on not knowing about this. When a pediatrician's office gets 63% of their patients vaccinated, they are eligible for a bonus, which works out to $400 per kid. It's almost $100,000 a year for each doctor. They have a financial incentive in keeping your kids poisoned. And then, of course, it keeps them on the wheel of fun, coming back to doctors for the rest of their lives to treat autoimmune diseases and neurodevelopmental disorders and their ear infections and their asthma and their eczema and all the shit that they got free of charge from their vaccines, which created a customer for life. Do you think the pharmaceutical industry gives a flying fuck about making you better? They're publicly traded on the stock market. Their stock price is dependent on how many widgets they sell. And the widgets they sell are for people who are sick. Do they want healthy people or do they want sick people? It's just so obvious. And why people can't see it is really more of a psychological trick. They don't want to see it. They don't want to know what they don't know. They don't want to know. Because to know that you have, unbeknownst to yourself, mistakenly injected your child with this stuff years ago is too much. It's too much for people to internalize. It's too much for them to carry around. So instead, it's way easier to just say, no, this stuff was good. Maybe the new stuff is bad, but the stuff in the past was fine. It's only this new mRNA technology that's bad for people. All the other stuff was no. This is just the new version of the awful stuff from before. Chances of developing a chronic disease in the first 10 years of life. This is from that study. The chances of a child developing a chronic disease in the first 10 years of life, from the time they're born until the first day of second grade, the chances of them getting a chronic disease that stays with them forever is 57% for vaccinated kids and 17% for unvaccinated kids. That is 40% difference there. 3 times more likely to have a chronic disease and be a big pharma customer for life. And it only gets worse from there. From the people who brought us DDT, which was the real polio, then vaccinated for polio with a vaccine filled with SV40 monkey cancer. Now they want to sell us a vaccine to cure cancer. No thanks. You can go depopulate somebody else as far as I'm concerned. We're good here. Hey, if you like this episode, you can take the additional step right now of sharing it with your friends and family. Go ahead and rate the show if you haven't already. Macroaggressions.io if you want to catch up with me. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you again soon.